second type of problem we're going to see in this lesson today, and that is when we have to calculate average rate of change. So our problem we have here is that Jessica weighs 87 pounds and wants to gain weight. After 5 weeks, she weighs 97 pounds, and I want to know what is the average rate of change. I didn't nicely put in these steps this time, so we're going to have to add these in. So when we're taking a look at this, step 1 is still going to be to find our delta y, or our change in y, and our delta, our change in x. Step 2, which we'll get to in just a second, so let's go ahead and do that. Well, here we're looking at typically time, and you might want to make a note of this. Time will always be x. And the reason why is because when you think about a timeline, you usually make them horizontally, and if we were to have to graph these, x runs horizontal. So I always like to put time as x. So if we look here, we've got time and we've got weight as our two values. So I'm going to make a table to help me out. So at time 0, when she first starts, she weighs 87 pounds. Then after 5 weeks, she weighs 97 pounds. So when I look here, my change in y is plus 10. And my change in x is plus 5. So when I put this together, I've got, so now I'm going to do, for step 2, delta y over delta x. And step 3, which I'm going to add right away, because we need it, is going to be putting our labels. And so when I look here, delta y is that plus 10, and that 10 represents pounds over our delta y, or delta x, which is 5, and 5 is time, which our time is in weeks. So we got 10 pounds over 5 weeks. The thing about rate of change is it's kind of like a fraction. We want to simplify it. And so we're going to, I'm going to just to make some space, I'm going to delete this here and move it over. And so when I simplify this, this is going to both be divisible by 5, which gives me 5 pounds over 1 week. That would be my constant rate of change. Let's move on to the next example. Give myself some space to work. Andrew had 6 gallons of milk and was making milkshakes. After 2 hours, he had 2 gallons left. What was his average rate of change? So now here again, we've got time, I see, because I see hours, and then I've got gallons. So I'm going to make my table. So Andrew started out at time 0 with 6 gallons. After 2 hours, he had 2 gallons left. So now we need to find that average rate of change. When I look here, my change in x is plus 2. And my change in y, I go down 4. So when I write this down as my delta y over delta x, I'm going to have change in y of minus 4 and a change in x of plus 2. Then I want to stick my labels on there. So I have minus 4 gallons and after over 2 hours. So when I simplify this down, I'm going to end up dividing both of those by 2, which gives me negative 2 gallons per 1 hour. And I don't have to put the 1 in if I don't want to, which gives me my average rate of change. What I need you to do now is go ahead and try the 2 you try problems and bring any questions you have with you to class tomorrow.